Welcome to your Education Hub. So today we are going to start with the second part of the chapter life process from class 10 Cbse, which is respiration. So this is your master teacher SUVOPRIYO BORAL. So let's start with the chapter. So before starting with the chapter, join our Telegram channel. All kinds of PDFs, tests, workbooks, notes will be uploaded in this channel itself. The link of the Telegram channel is being given in the description box below. So join the channel as soon as possible. So what is breathing? Now breathing is a simple process in which we breathe in the fresh oxygen, and in breathing out we give out the carbon dioxide, which is produced as a waste material in our body by different parts of our body. So let's read what it defines. Breathing is a process of moving air out and in the lungs to facilitate gas exchange with the internal environment, mostly to flush out carbon dioxide and bring in oxygen. So this is breathing. What is the process in which the air moves out and the fresh air which is moving inside the lungs to facilitate the gas exchange. The exchange of the gas occurs with the internal environment, and then mostly it flushes out the CO2, the carbon dioxide, and helps in bringing in oxygen within a body for its function. So this is what breathing is. So this is the basic diagram of inspiration, breathing in, and exhalation or expiration, which is the breathing out. So hope you have understood what is breathing, and you have watched about the diagram also, that in breathing in, the diaphragm gets make bigger space so that the oxygen can get more space for its storage, for its more oxygen to get inside it. And breathing out, the diaphragm gets uh, helps to make the oxygen, make the carbon dioxide to move out from the body. So this is the basic diagram of the breathing. So hope you have understood what is breathing. So let's move to the next slide. So this is what respiration. Now, what is respiration? Now, respiration is a metabolic process that occurs in all organisms. Now, respiration is a metabolic process, energy giving process in which this process occurs in each and every organism. Now, it is a biochemical process that occurs within the cells of the organisms. Now, it is a kind of biochemical process. Now, respiration is a kind of biochemical process that occurs within the cells of the organisms. And in this process, the energy currency, which is known as ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is being produced by the breakdown of glucose, which is C6H12O6, and which is further used up by the cells to perform various functions. Now, respiration helps in producing energy currency, which is known as adenosine triphosphate, and it helps in breakdown of glucose, which is C6H12O6, which helps in giving energy to the cells for performing the various specified functions. Now, every living species, from a single-celled organism to dominant multicellular organisms, perform respiration. Now, respiration is being done from a single-celled organism to a dominant multicellular organism, from amoeba to human beings. So, each and every organism has the respiration process within its body. So this is a basic diagram of what respiration is. So this air moves inside, and here the energy means like the fresh oxygen which is being it moves inside by breathing, and this oxygen moves inside our body to different cells, which helps in the producing energy. So hope you have understood what is respiration. So let's move to the next slide. So this is what the difference or the distinguishing between the respiration and breathing. Now breathing is the first point of breathing is intake of fresh air and removal of foul air. This is the definition of breathing. Now respiration is oxidation of food to form carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now, in case of respiration, the food gets oxidizes to form carbon dioxide and then water and energy. This is the basic definition of it. Now, breathing is a kind of physical process and respiration is a kind of biochemical process. Now, no energy is released, rather used from breathing, and energy is released in the form of ATP. And then extracellular process occurs in breathing. Intracellular processes occurs in respiration. No enzymes are involved in breathing. Large number of enzymes are very much involved in respiration. Now confined to certain organs, breathing is only confined to certain organs only. Respiration occurs in each and every organ and each and every cell of the body. So this is the basic difference of between the respiration and breathing. So from this only we can see that respiration and breathing are not two similar things. So this is the basic difference. So hope you have taken this snapshot of it. So we have understood about it as well. So let's move to the next slide. This is the breakdown of the glucose by various pathways. Now, the glucose which is being produced in a kind of glucose which is acts as some six carbon molecule. This glucose is being produced in respiration and how it gets breakdown of glucose occurs. Now, in glucose 6 carbon molecule gets breakdown by in the cytoplasm, the place where the glucose is getting breaking down, and now it is forming the pyruvate, which is 3 carbon molecule plus energy. From 6 carbon molecule it has gone to 3 carbon molecule plus it is giving out energy. Now this pyruvate has been split into 3 types, which is in the absence of oxygen. Now pyruvate can be broken down into absence of oxygen. It has been broken down into lack of oxygen. It also gets broken down in the presence of oxygen as well. Now first we discuss about the absence of oxygen. Now, the absence of oxygen process occurs in organisms like yeast. So, in this organism, yeast, absence of oxygen helps to break the pyruvate, which is producing energy like ethanol. It is producing ethanol. The results are ethanol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. So, energy is also being produced. Carbon dioxide is also being produced, as well as uh, ethanol as is also being produced. So that is being formed as 2 carbon molecule. Now in case of lack of oxygen, which occurs in our muscle cells, not only in humans muscle cells, it occurs also in animals like leopard when they run. There also occurs a lack of oxygen in their muscle cells. Now when deer runs, so the lack of oxygen also occurs in their muscle cells. Now the muscle pain, what we say, is the because of lack of oxygen. So whatever. So lactic acid plus energy. The results are lactic acid plus energy is being produced, and that is 3 carbon molecule. So this is the products that is being formed from lack of oxygen. Now the third one is in the presence of oxygen, how pyruvate is being converted to energy. Now this presence of oxygen is occurring in mitochondria, and the results are carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Now, presence of oxygen in mitochondria, the products are carbon dioxide is being released, water is being formed plus energy. So this is the basic structure of how glucose has been broken down in absence of oxygen, in lack of oxygen, in presence of oxygen. Take a snapshot of it, it will help you in the exams as well. So hope you've understood this breaking down of glucose by various pathways. So let's move to the next slide. This is the different types of respiration. Now, the respiration can be split into two branches. One is aerobic respiration and one is anaerobic respiration. The basic, uh, the basic what is aerobic respiration is basically aerobic respiration is the respiration which occurs in presence of oxygen. And what anaerobic respiration? Basically, anaerobic respiration is the respiration in the absence of oxygen. So this is the types of respiration. So let's discuss about aerobic respiration as well as anaerobic respiration. So let's come to the next slide. Hope you have understood the types of respiration. So this is starting with aerobic respiration. Now, what is aerobic respiration and the equation which is involved in the process of aerobic respiration? So glucose, this particular equation you need to be remembering about it. It will help you in exam purposes. So glucose, which is C6H12O6 plus oxygen, this two helps in giving us energy, which is one is carbon dioxide is being released out, which is 6 CO2. It is water, which is H2O. It is being released, and the energy molecule, which is ATP. So this is the total process which occurs. That's the result, and what are the components by which the reaction of the respiration occurs. So this equation has been balanced. Take a screenshot of it. It will help you in the exam purpose. It's very, very important. I am telling you repeatedly. Now, aerobic respiration is a biological process in which food and glucose is converted into energy in the presence of oxygen. Now, aerobic respiration is a biological process in which food glucose, which is the glucose, is being converted into energy. Like this, the glucose has been converted into energy in the presence of O2, which is oxygen. Now, the chemical equation of aerobic respiration is as given above. This is the chemical equation, and according to the above given chemical equation, energy is being released by splitting the glucose molecules with the help of oxygen gas. Now, glucose molecules, this is 6H12O6. This has been split in the presence of what? The oxygen, which is O2. Now, at the end of the chemical reaction, energy, water molecules, and carbon dioxide are released as the byproducts or end products of the reaction. At the end of the chemical reaction, what is happening? The energy is released, water molecules is given out, and carbon dioxide is also released, as these are all the byproducts or the end products of this chemical reaction, which is the aerobic respiration. Now, the 2900 kilojoule of energy is released during the process of breaking down of a glucose molecule, and in turn, this energy is being used to produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate molecules, which are used up by the system of various purposes. Now, the 2900 kilojoule is used to be coming out in the when glucose, the C6H12 molecule, O6 molecule is being broken down in the presence of oxygen. So this amount of energy comes out from one glucose molecule. So this is what it is telling, and then aerobic respiration process takes place in all the multicellular organisms, including animals, plants, and other living organisms. Now, aerobic respiration, where it takes place? It takes place in all the multicellular organisms, and then including all animals, all plants, and all other living organisms as well. So, during the respiration process in plants, the oxygen gas enters the plant cells through the stomata. During respiration, what happens in plants? The oxygen gas enters through the plant cells. Now, you may be wondering how respiration occurs in plants. Plants used to continue with photosynthesis process. Now there is a question now that photosynthesis occurs in the presence of sunlight, and for which so that reaction is also known as a photo reaction. Now that reaction occurs only in the presence of light, for which a plant can prepare its own food. Now, what happens in the night time or when the sunlight is not there? At that time, respiration occurs in plants, when which the oxygen gas enters the plant cells through the stomata, and which is present in leaves and which is found in the epidermis of leaves and also in the stem as well. So with the help of photosynthesis process, all green plants synthesize their food and thus releases energy. So this is the total concept of aerobic respiration, and this is the basic equation of the aerobic respiration reaction. So hope you have understood and what amount of energy is being released when one glucose molecule is being broken down in the presence of oxygen. So hope you have understood the total concept and have you have taken the screenshot of it as well. So let's move to the next slide. This is the total working of aerobic respiration. Now, what is the total working? The glycolysis occurs, which is the glucose has been converted into pyruvic acid. Now, two ATP molecules has been released, which is a Krebs cycle. Now, what is Krebs cycle? Krebs cycle we will be discussing in the higher classes, and then CO2, and this Krebs cycle is releasing the CO2. This Krebs cycle is going on with the chemical energy and in which electron hydrogen transporter system, which is giving out 36 ATP molecules, and from which O2, and then O2 is being mixed up and which is all together giving it 36 ATP, and which the electron hydrogen is being giving out with H2O. This is the total working of the aerobic respiration. Now I am repeating once again what is happening in glycolysis. Glucose has been converted into pyruvic acid. Now this 2 ATP has been released, and this glycolysis process continues with a cycle called Krebs cycle, which we will be learning in the higher classes. This concept is not discussed in class 10 biology. Now this Krebs cycle is then converted to CO2, and this Krebs cycle continues by a chemical energy, which is the electron hydrogen transport system, and this O2 also acts over it, for which 36 ATP molecules has been created and from which H2O molecules has been given out. So hope you have understood the total working of aerobic respiration. So let's move to the next slide. So this is what anaerobic respiration. Now what happens in the anaerobic respiration? So before it, let's see at this equation. Now this glucose is being transformed to its resultant products by in the absence of energy, absence of oxygen, which is acts as energy, and then it is forming as alcohol, which is ethanol, which is carbon dioxide, which is CO2, and energy molecules. So this is the basic equation of anaerobic respiration, and this whole process for anaerobic respiration goes in the absence of oxygen. Now let's read what it defines. Now anaerobic respiration is the type of respiration, is a kind of respiration in which through which cells can break down sugars to generate energy in the absence of oxygen. Now, sugars is the glucose, and they are being generated to energy in the absence of oxygen. So glucose is being generated to alcohol, to CO carbon dioxide, to CO2, to energy molecules. So this is being converted in the absence of oxygen. Now this is in contrast to highly efficient process of aerobic respiration, which relies on oxygen to produce energy. Now this is in contrast to highly efficient processes. A highly efficient process of aerobic respiration which relies on oxygen to produce energy. Now this occurs which relies on oxygen to produce energy. Now what happens in molecular oxygen? Now, molecular oxygen is the most efficient electron acceptor for the respiration due to its high affinity for electrons. However, some organisms have evolved to use other final electron acceptors and as such can perform respiration without oxygen. This concept is an extra concept which has been given to you people. So let's understand it as well. It's an extra knowledge. Let's know about it. So molecular oxygen is the most efficient electron acceptor. Now this is the most efficient electron acceptor for respiration and due to its high affinity for the electrons. So however, some organisms have evolved to use other final electron acceptors and as such can perform respiration with the oxygen. Now molecular oxygen is very much efficient to the electron acceptor, and then respiration occurs due to its high affinity for electrons, because oxygen is having a high affinity. This respiration is having a high affinity for electrons, And however, some organisms have evolved to other final electron acceptors. They also use other final electron acceptors as well, and as such, they can perform the respiration with the oxygen. So, hope you have understood what is anaerobic respiration and the equation as well. Take a snapshot of it. It will help you in the exam purposes. So, let's move to the next slide. So this is the typical working of anaerobic respiration. Now, anaerobic respiration occurs in fermentation and this occurs in glycolysis. Now, what occurs in fermentation? Ethanol and lactate, and this is being formed from CO2, and total it is being formed at NAD and NADH, and that is being continued by glycolysis, which is glucose, and this is being fermentation is being formed by glucose now itself, and then glycolysis, which is from two ATP molecules and two ADP molecules, and from which the the four ADP molecules and four ATP molecules is being given, and then this pyruvate occurs. Now, while this pyruvate occurs, the into two molecules, and this one goes into ethanol, by which it is taking the CO2 as a byproduct, and it is also giving out the uh, lactate, and then it is then going on with the two NAD molecules and two NADH molecules. This is the total working of anaerobic respiration. It is being given in much more depth for your understandings. So hope you've understood about it. So let's move to the next slide. There is a basic difference of the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Now, what happens in aerobic respiration? It takes place in the presence of oxygen, it takes place in the absence of oxygen. Till now, we have been discussing about this only. In aerobic respiration, complete oxidation of glucose takes place. In anaerobic respiration, the glucose molecule is incompletely oxidized, as well as it is not all going on in the presence of oxygen. So, the anaerobic respiration glucose molecule is being incompletely oxidized. So end products are CO2 and water, and end products of anaerobic respiration are ethyl alcohol or lactic acid and CO2. Now anaerobic respiration, I am telling the anaerobic respiration, but then anaerobic respiration occurs in animals as well as in the organisms, but the respiration occurs in is the absence of oxygen, in which animals are also being involved in the anaerobic respiration as well. So, totally not the aerobic respiration is being made in the animals, but then anaerobic respiration also occurs in animals when animals used to run the when the not run but when the muscles are working for a long period of time, the oxygen in the muscles get finished up, for which the oxygen for which the muscle cells starts to prepare energy anaerobically. Now, anaerobic respiration also occurs in plants as well when too much water is being given during rainfall. Now, what happens during rainfall? During rainfall, the water has been when the water has been stored just gets stagnant just behind the roots, and now while this happens, now due to rainfall after a period of time, after the rainfall stops, the water gets drained out. But in case of if we are giving too much water to plants, now what happens in that case is then the water gets stagnated, the drainage of water gets slowly moves on, and for which the roots have taken the amount of water they require. Now the excess water they cannot take, for which the roots starts to do anaerobic respiration because the amount of oxygen is too much in the water. I mean, as because the water has been stagnated, for which the plants have started to do the anaerobic respiration, for which soon the plant dies. So we need to take care and we need to watch out when there is too much water in the roots of the plants. We need to give out the stagnated water. So a lot of energy is being liberated at 8 ATP, relatively small energy is being liberated 2 ATP. It occurs in plants, animal cell, occurs in many anaerobic bacteria and human muscle cells as well. Now the equation is C6H12O6 plus 6O2, and which is giving us 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus 686. KCl, and then C6H12O6, which is 2CO2 H5OH plus 2CO2 plus 56 KCl. So, okay, we've understood the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. We have also discussed how the anaerobic respiration occurs in plants and animals as well, and what are the consequences if anaerobic respiration occurs in plants. So, hope you've understood the basic difference. Take a snapshot of it. It will help in your exam purposes as well. So, let's move to the next slide. So, what happens or what is the process of breathing in lower organisms? Now, what is lower organisms? Organisms like amoeba, organisms like paramecium, organisms. These organisms continue with, these organisms are called as the lower organisms. So, let's discuss what is the process of breathing in these lower organisms. So the lower organisms breathe through cell membrane by the diffusion of gases. Now by diffusion of gases, the lower organism breathes through the cell membrane, and all minute organisms like amoeba and paramecium have no specialized organ for breathing, like we have lungs, like the air moves through our nose, emits through our nostrils. These kind of organs are not present in lower organisms like hydra, amoeba, paramecium, so for which they used to do their breathing through their cell membrane by the process of diffusion. So the gases are diffused by the cell membrane, and hydra breathes through the moist surface of the body. So the gases are being diffused by the cell membrane, and hydra breathes through the moist surface of the body. So here also we can see the diffusion also occurs in the hydra for the exchange of gases, but through the moist surface of the body. So this is the hydra image, this is the amoeba image, and this is the paramecium image. So hope you have understood the breathing in lower organisms, organisms like amoeba, hydra, paramecium. So let's move to the next slide. Understand these breathing in lower organisms, breathing in insects, breathing in frogs. So these understand these breathing process very clearly. So let's move to the next slide and discuss about the breathing in other organisms. Now let's discuss about the breathing in earthworm. So what is the kind of breathing process that goes on in earthworm? Now in earthworms, they breathe through their skin. They breathe through their skin. Now this is known as the cutaneous mode of respiration, and then they secrete slimy secretions on the skin which keeps it moist. Now they secrete slimy secretions which helps them on the skin, which helps them to keep its skin to be moist. Now this makes their body permeable to gas. Now if we have ever touched or hold of an earthworm, then we will be able to find that the skin of the earthworm is very moist. Now why this is moist? Because different the skin used to secrete slimy secretions which makes the body of the earthworm to be moist in nature. Now if the body is moist, then what is the relation with the breathing in earthworm? Now this is the relation in this case, that this makes the body of the earthworm to be permeable to diffuse, or to permeable to make the body to take the oxygen, and the exchange of the gases occurs. So this is what how the breathing occurs in earthworm. So this is the image of earthworm as well. So hope you have understood the breathing of earthworm. Understand these breathing in organisms. This will help you in the exam. So let's move to the next slide. This is how breathing occurs in insects. Now, how breathing occurs in insects? So, these breathing occurs in insects by their spiracles or by their body surfaces. So, these body surfaces, they used to have some holes which helps them to make the exchange of gases. So, let's discuss about it as well. The body of the insects is the covered with holes called spiracles. So they are having covered with holes which are known as the spiracles. So we have discussed now only, and the oxygen enters these holes and reaches the trachea, which helps them to circulate through the body. So the oxygen which is being present in our atmosphere moves into these holes and reaches to the trachea, and where the circulation of the oxygen occurs throughout the body. Now, the carbon dioxide is being carried by the trachea and expelled out through the spiracles. Now, the trachea used to carry out the carbon dioxide and they used to give out them through the spiracles. So, this is what the breathing process in insects. Hope you have understood this as well. So, let's move to the next slide. So this is how the breathing goes in frogs. Now, as frogs are amphibians, so they sometimes lives on land, they sometimes lives in water. So, what happens in these cases for frogs? Now, in these cases, frogs used to have lungs as well as they used to have a moist skin. Now, what this helps them? How this helps them in breathing or in exchange of gases? This helps them in breathing by the lungs used to help them when they are moving as a terrestrial organism, means on land. Now, why moist skin is being present? Now, moist skin is being present as sometimes frogs used to move in water as aquatic organisms. So, in those cases, the moist skin helps them to have an exchange of oxygen in the water as well. Now, let's read what it defines. The frog lives both on land and in water. So, now only we have discussed. Therefore, it exhibits different modes of breathing during different stages of its life cycle. Now, in different stages of its life cycle, we can see frog, because frog, while from its birth, frog passes through different stages. From tadpole to a frog, there is a number of stages, and for which there's three different respiration modes like cutaneous, branchial, and pulmonary. And then the skin of the adult frogs is moist and slimy. Now only we have discussed, which helps them to respire in water and on land. On land, the exchange of gases in the adult frogs takes place through the lungs, and the larval stages the frogs live in water and breathe through gills. Now when the frog is in the state of tadpole in its life cycle. Now tadpole used to have gills. They do not have any kind of lungs. As the tadpole turns to become an adult frog, then lungs is being developed, the moist skin has also been developed for the exchange of gases. So this is what the process of breathing in frogs. So hope you have understood the breathing of frogs very carefully, and so let's move to the next slide. This is how the breathing of the animals goes in underwater. Now, there are three types in which the animals breathe in underwater, like fishes used to breathe through their gills. Now, how the fishes used to breathe through their gills? There is a kind of very good mechanism and interesting mechanism as well in how the fish used to breathe. Like they are having gills. Now, these gills, the water they used to move inside their gills. The gills used to extract the oxygen which is being present inside the water, and that water is being released through the gills itself. Now, the carbon dioxide which is being produced from inside the body of the fish is also being released through the gills itself. So, this happens in fish. Now, what happens to whales and dolphins? Now, they do not have gills, they are having lungs. So, how it is possible? Animals and aquatic animals, they should have gills to breathe, but then they are having lungs. So there is something another story for them. So let's take a look that in whales and dolphins, they are having lungs. Now in this lungs, they used to sometimes we will be able to see that in hot summer days, we will be able to see that not in hot summer days, in places where cold winter days also, we will be able to see that Sometimes not in cold weather days, but then in hot summer days only, we will be able to see that dolphins, what places where dolphins are found, places where whales are found today on this earth. So they uh, used to move above the water surface for a certain period of time. For example, 5 minutes they used to come over the water. They used to take the oxygen, they used to inhale the oxygen in from the atmosphere which is over the water, and for a period of 5 minutes. Not I am telling, just I am telling. So suppose to have a basic conceptual. So they used to take the oxygen and then they used to move inside the deep water. Now again after some period of time they again used to move up, take the oxygen, then again moves down. So this is a total procedure in which they, like whales and dolphins I'm meaning. So these organisms how they used to carry on with the breathing process in underwater. So let's read what it defines. Fish are aquatic organisms. Now they have special organs called gills. They help in breathing. Gills are feathery organs projected out of the skin, richly supplied with blood vessels and are covered with gill sleeves. Now the fish takes the water through the mouth and forces carbon dioxide out of the gills. Now during this total process, the oxygen which is absorbed and diffused into the blood vessels and is transported to different cells of the body. So at first we are seeing that there is a total process now only which we have discussed about fishes are only being defined. So what fishes, the kind of gills have a vital role play in gills, so that vital role play is only discussed. How they are, the oxygen is being absorbed, means how they are being, how they moves into the body of the fish, how they gets more, the how get the carbon dioxide moves out from their body. So this is the total process. Hope you have understood the fish breathing purposes. So let's move to the second one. So however the organisms like whales and dolphins used to swim to the water surface to breathe, since they are mammals just like humans. So they are simply like the mammals, which are acting like humans, and means they are basically humans only. Because if anyone is being breathing in with the help of lungs, so basically they are humans only. So there is not much difference. But then the structure and look of the animals are simply bit different. But then the breathing process is simply similar. So like that, they used to breathe through their lungs, and then this the warm-blooded, they were warm-blooded animals and give birth to younger ones as opposed to laying eggs. Now in the reproduction process in fish, they used to lay eggs from which thousands of fishes and small fishes, tiny fishes are takes birth. But in whales and dolphins, they used to give out the younger ones, and they are simply the warm-blooded animals. And dolphins and whales have blowholes. They used to have blowholes over them. If you have ever seen a whale in means in television, sometimes we are able to see whales in National Geographic channels. So on those channels, if you have ever seen a whale, then you would be able to see that they used to come up for a period of time and they used to blow out their exchange of, means the gases they used to give out through those blowholes. So the blowhole is also having a important uh, vital role play in dolphins and whales as well. So this holes blowholes used to be present on the top of their body. So this is the rate of breathing in water is more than what that on the land. This is because the amount of oxygen present in water is less when compared to that outside. Therefore, higher breathing rate helps them to take more oxygen. This is why different animals breathe and have the breathing organs modified according to the habitat they live in. That's why nature has made the different kinds of organs to breathe in different habitats. So this is the total concept of how the animals used to breathe in underwater. Hope you have understood. We have discussed how fishes used to breathe in underwater. We have also discussed a little part of reproduction in fishes as well. We have discussed how whales and dolphins used to breathe in underwater, as well as we have discussed a little part with reproduction of whales and dolphins as well. So hope you have understood the total concept of the breathing of animals which is underwater. So let's move to the next slide. Hope you have been taking all the screenshots of this breathing of animals in underwater, frogs, insects, earthworm, lower organisms. So we have been taking about it because these will be having an important function in your exam purposes. So take the screenshots as I have said beforehand also. So take the screenshots. It would be useful for you people. So let's move to the next slide. This is we are going to starting with the important part of this respiration part of life process chapter. So this is the most important and vital part, which is the structure of the human respiratory system. So we now are going to enter the human respiratory system, and this is the most complex respiration occurs. Till now we have discussed the organisms, they are simple and most easiest to understand, but this human respiratory system is a complex system. No matter, it will not cause any kind of problem in your understandings, but then this is a complex system. So this is the total and the basic and detailed diagram of how respiration goes on in respiratory system structure. So take a look of it. So this is a frontal sinus, then the nasal cognae, and then this is the nose, then this is the larynx, and this is a trachea and bronchus, and these are the bronchioles, the branches, and these left lung, this is the left lung, this is the right lung. Now these the surfaces after the bronchiole ends, the surfaces which helps to adjoin with the bronchioles to the lungs, they are known as the alveoli, which adjoins, and this is the pharynx, this is the nasal cavity totally, and this is the sphenoidal sinus, and this is the diaphragm, which expands when air moves in, and which again becomes smaller when the air moves out. There is a structure of human respiratory system we will be discussing what the detailed functions done by each and every organs given by nature to our respiratory system to or for which our respiration should be occurring very easily and very helpfully for us to survive on this earth. So let's move to the next slide. This is the first part. It's divided into two parts. So this is the first part of how the working of our respiratory system continues. So let's start what it defines. So the human gas exhaling organ, the lung, is located in the thorax. So the lungs is basically located in the thorax. So where its delicate tissues are protected by the bony and muscular thoracic cage, and the lung provides the tissues of the human body with a continuous flow of oxygen and clears the blood of the gaseous waste product carbon dioxide. Now what happening is here in this part it is happening that the is located in the thorax and where its delicate tissues. There are delicate tissues which are being protecting the bony and muscular thoracic cage as well, which is known as the rib cage. And the lung provides the tissues of the human body. The lung is providing the tissues of the human body with a continuous flow of oxygen. Now the tissues which are present inside the lung, they are having a continuous flow of oxygen and clears the blood of the gaseous waste product, which is the carbon dioxide. Now, atmospheric air is pumped in and out of the body regularly through a system of pipes called conducting airways. Now, they are having some system of pipes which are having a regular supply of atmospheric air, which is known as the conducting airways, which join the gas exchange region with the outside the body. Now these used to join the gas exchange regions which are held with the outside of the body. Now the airways can be divided. These airways are to be divided into upper airway system and lower airway system. Now the transition between the two systems is located where the pathways of the respiration or the respiratory and then digestive system cross just at the top of larynx. Now the transition which occurs between the two systems, which is located in the pathways of the respiratory and by the pathways of digestive systems, which cross just at the top of the larynx. And the upper airway system comprises the nose and paranasal cavities, and the upper airway is a system comprising with the nose and paranasal cavities, the pharynx, which is also known as a throat, and partly also the oral cavity, since it may be used for breathing as well. So these also helps in the breathing as well. So till now we have seen how lungs are giving a delicate shape and delicate how the lungs are having helping the total body structure, as well as it is helping its own delicate tissues which is present within it. How the flow of oxygen is very much regular to each and every part of our body, and how the tissues which is presenting inside the lungs are also getting having a regular flow of oxygen, and they are having some airway systems, which is the upper airway and which is a lower airway system. So the pathways of the respiratory, there is a respiratory airway system and there is a digestive airway system. So this is a total first part of the respiratory system presenting in human beings. This is the working. So hope you have understood about this working. So let's move to the second part of the working of our respiratory system. So hope you have understood and take a snapshot. I am telling repeatedly, it will help you in the exams. This is the working of the respiratory system, the second part. So the lower airway system consisting of larynx, the trachea, the stem bronchi, and all the airways ramifying intensively within the lungs, such as the intrapulmonary bronchi, the bronchioles, the alveolar ducts. Now the lower airway system, the first part we have been discussing slightly about upper airway system. Now we are going to start with the lower airway system. So it is being consisting of a larynx, and then which is also known as a voice box, the trachea, which is known as a windpipe, and the stem bronchi, and the branching airways, and then all the airways ramifying intensively within the lungs, which are the intrapulmonary bronchi, the bronchioles, and the alveolar ducts, which are being joining with the surface of the lungs. So these alveolar ducts are helping to adjoined with the lungs. Now, this for respiration, the collaboration of other organ systems is clearly essential. Now, for respiration, the collaboration of other organ systems is clearly very much essential. They are very much important. Now, the diaphragm has the main respiratory muscle, and the intercostal muscles of the chest wall plays also an important and essential role by generating under the control of central nervous system and the pumping action on the lung. Now, the diaphragm has the main respiratory muscle, and all kinds of intercostal muscles of the chest wall also play a very much important and essential role by generating under the action control of the central nervous system and the pumping action on the lung. The muscles expand and contract the internal space of the thorax, and the bony framework of which is formed by the ribs. This bony framework is being covered by ribs and the thoracic vertebrae. Now the contribution in the lung and chest wall, ribs and muscles to respiration is described below. The mechanics of the breathing, the blood as a carrier for the gases, and now the blood is which is a blood which is being passing through the heart is having getting this freshly prepared oxygen, and it is being mixed with the blood, and this blood is helping to circulate the oxygen to each and every part of the our body. So this is a total respiratory system and total working of our respiratory system discussed. So hope you have understood the total working of the respiratory system. This was the second part, and the last part we have discussed that also in detail. So if we again have to recapitulate about our respiratory system, then we can recapitulate by watching at this diagram of the respiratory system. So what is happening? The nose is a passageway for air. The air moves through the nose, which is oxygen. Now it is moving. It is having a passage called the nasal cavity. It is moving through the nasal cavity, and then it is moving through the epiglottis. Now, why is epiglottis is being presented? Epiglottis is being presented because there are two pipes. One is windpipe and one is the windpipe, and one is foot pipe. Now, epiglottis is present because while we eat food, we always have been means when elders used to every time used to tell that we should not talk while we are eating. Why? Because the food we are eating, sometimes while we talk, the wind comes because the epiglottis gets confused, and for which the epiglottis doesn't cover over the windpipe. The food should not go to enter through the windpipe. The food should always move to the foot pipe. If it moves to the windpipe, then it will cause a huge danger. That's why the epiglottis has been given us by nature, so that the food doesn't goes into the windpipe. But then if we talk, the epiglottis gets confused, and for which the epiglottis thinks that we are the covering of the epiglottis is not needed, and that's why the passing of air occurs, because while we talk we need air to talk. If we do not have the continuous movement of air through our body, then will not be able to, then we will not be able to talk for a long period of time. For which the epiglottis helps to move the covering, and for which it helps the air to move outside. And for which the windpipe opens and the food moves inside the windpipe. That's why suddenly we start to coughing. That's why we should not talk while we are eating. Then after that, it is the rule of the epiglottis we have discussed. Now from that, the wing moves to the larynx, the voice box, then through the trachea. Now this is the left lung, this is the right lung. Now the air moves to the bronchi, then from bronchioles. Now from bronchioles to the alveoli, then to the lungs. And lungs used to purify the oxygen and sends to heart. And heart used to deliver the oxygen, freshly prepared oxygen, to the blood to circulate through the total body parts, to all the body parts of our body. So this is the basic function. Now the how the lungs are being covered, how the heart is being covered. They are being covered by ribs, and this is the rib cage, and which is forming a cage which is known as a rib cage, and then it is having a diaphragm, which is a skeletal muscle which gets uh, bigger when oxygen moves inside it, and which is getting smaller when oxygen moves out through means when carbon dioxide moves out through our body. So they are the muscles. The muscles which are present in the lungs are they are known as the intercostal muscle, and they are also the pleural membranes which are being present, which covers the lungs and the chest cavity. So this we have also recapitulated for people for the understanding the working of our respiratory system as well. So hope you have understood the working of the respiratory system. Take a snapshots of all the parts of the respiratory system in human beings, as well as the and the working of the breathing, which is in the other organisms as well. Take a screenshot. I am telling repeatedly. This will be helping in your exam purposes. So let's move to the next slide. So the major problem in this world is the smoking. Inhalants continuously, regularly, each and every place we have been alerted to not to smoke, not to smoke. Why we have been said not to smoke? Because there is a great reason, there is a major reason for the survival of us. The one who is smoking, the survival of that person is in danger, along with the persons or the people who are been surrounding him are also in danger. We need to be very much aware of not to smoke, say no to smoking. Because smoking is not a healthy habit for human beings to stay alive. Smoking is the most risk factor, most dangerous factor, which is making our health to cause damage, which is making our lungs to cause damage, and these all is being made for which other life expectancy is starting to be getting decreased. If we used to be if in a healthy position of our life, if we used to be having an expectancy of our life for about 70 years, we would be dying within the year of 55 years or 60 years only. So we need to say stop to smoking. Now, what are the risks of smoking? What is the lung cancer as well? Let's discuss about it. So, is the number of one risk factor for lung cancer in the United States? The United States, we will be discussing about this in a very practical purposes. So, let's discuss in practical purposes only. So, cigarette smoking is linked to about 80 to 90% of using cancer, the deaths, and then using other tobacco products such as cigars or pipes. So cigars and pipes are also being used nowadays, and then cigarettes are the most common one. And this smoking and lung cancer we will be discussing in a state of biology as well as in having a brief practical examples in our world which is occurring today. So, what 7,000 of chemicals are being mixed to prepare this toxic tobacco, toxic cigarettes or cigars or pipes to give out the poison gas called the poison gas, and which is that tobacco is being presented in it, and tobacco is having 7,000 chemicals. Now, many are poisons. Most of the this 7,000 among these 7,000 chemicals, most of them are poisons. At least 70 are known to cause cancer in people or animals. So we are maintaining regularly stop smoking. Now, people who smoke cigarettes are 15 to 20 times more likely to get lung cancer. 50 to 30 times are being applied for those people for having a disease, a chronic disease called lung cancer, or they can die from lung cancer than people who do not smoke. Now, even smoking a few cigarettes a day or smoking occasionally increases the risk of lung cancer. So, the more we smoke, the risk of our lung cancer occasionally starts to increase. And the more years a person smokes, the more cigarettes smoked each day, the more risk goes up. So eventually, it is very much positive and very much it is surety that the more cigarettes each day he used to smoke, the more he become a chain smoker. It will cause a huge damage in his lungs. It is very much necessary, and for which the death is also very much necessary. Nobody can stop him. If anybody can stop him, will be he himself. If he needs to give out a kind of provocation, a kind of habit, he need to himself need to give up. Nobody can help him to give up his habits, his bad habits. So people who quit smoking have a lower risk of lung cancer than if they had continued to smoke. But their risk is higher than the risk for people who never smoke. Quitting smoking at any age can lower the risk of lung cancer. So, uh, those who are not smoking, they are also getting their lungs are also getting damaged due to the people who are smoking. Now, smoking can be stopped at any point of time in your life at any age. That will only help your lungs to be surviving for a much more time. With this lungs will only help you to survive on this earth for a much more time. The expectancy of your life will be for a much more time. So cigarette smoking can cause cancer almost anywhere in the body, anywhere in the body. Cancer is a chronic disease which can occur in any part of our body. Now, cigarette smoking causes cancer of the mouth, throat, esophagus, stomach, colon, rectum, liver, pancreas, voice box, trachea, bronchus, kidney, renal pelvis, urinary bladder, cervix, causes acute myeloid leukemia. So these all parts are the basic targets for the cancer to occur. And this cancer is only occurring in these parts because of this cigarette smoking. We need to say to stop cigarette smoking. Because the one who is smoking, for which thousands of people are getting having a same disease called lung cancer. Lung cancer is not a disease that will occur to the just after one smoking, that will only occur. But the expectancy of one healthy lung will starts to decrease. The expectancy of a life for a healthy lung will starts to decrease. So we need to say stop to smoking. So hope you have understood what is smoking and what are the ill effects of smoking and what is lung cancer, how does it occur. So this is how these effects occurs due to smoking. So hope you have understood all about it. So thank you for watching our video. Hope all your concerns are crystal clear from this chapter. If you have any doubt from this chapter, mention it in the comment section below. You can also place any kind of doubt from the previous lecture as well. So if you have any kind of doubt, mention it in the comment section below. We take a lot of efforts to build up this kind of conceptual videos. So give a like and subscribe to our channel to get the regular updates by hitting the bell icon. And the next part, which is the transportation, would be coming very soon. So hit the bell icon to get the regular updates and the update for the transportation as well. And try to share with the video with those people who are wishing to study in this crisis period of time, which is India is going on with the COVID-19. This crisis period of time, most of the offline tuitions are being closed; they are being shut down. So online education is the only way to be studying with. So try to share the video with each and everyone. This will not benefit me, this will not benefit you, but this will help each and every each those children who are being wishing to study or being hoping to study to have a, a consistent education throughout their life. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Stay tuned for the regular updates we have been providing with you. So